Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. My name is Akkshitha and I'm a disciple of Guru Vidushi Mrudula Rai from Coimbatore. On behalf of Prayathnam, I present to you 3 videos that deals with several fitness aspects for Bharatanatyam dancers. I thank them for this opportunity because through this I have made a humble attempt to apply several dance medicine and sports science topics that I have studied to a Bharatanatyam context, because I believe that this can give us a lot of well-informed tips and applications that we can use into our daily practice regimes. Because with the increasing demands in class, rehearsals and performance, it helps to stay up to date with the research that is present in science. So I hope these videos are useful. We have made 3 videos. The first one on warm-up for Bharatanatyam dancers, the second one on stamina, and the third one on joint alignment for a safe Aramandi. So if you have any further recommendations, information or questions regarding any of these topics, please do feel free to contact me. So why do we need a warm-up? So like its name indicates, it is to increase the core temperature of our body so that our muscles can start to generate energy. This will not only make us mentally and physically ready for our dance, but it will also greatly help to reduce the risk of injury, to improve our overall performance, to help our balance, to help our alignment, control, as well as increase our reaction speeds. But for all of these benefits to occur, we need to make sure that our warm-up is systematic, individual and practical as well. So a good warm-up lasts for 5 to 10 minutes and it must have 3 components, which is cardio component, followed by some mobility and finishing off with some dynamic stretches. So one common assumption that most of us do is when we feel hot and sweaty on the outside from the weather or from maybe running to class, we assume that we are automatically warmed up. But that is not the case. A good warm-up will always begin with some cardio activity like jogging in 2 different speeds, a little bit of skipping, some jumping, hopping. So these kind of repetitive continuous movements will be aerobic, which means our body will start using oxygen to generate energy. So it's a great way to start off any movement. This can be followed with some mobility. So mobility is taking our joints through its entire range of motion. So we can do this with some rotations. So say we take our hip into external and internal rotations. This will help us to activate our turnout, which we can use in the dance. So the mobility phase is important so that our body can use the complete range of motion in the dance activity that follows. The third part of a good warm-up is some dynamic stretching. So here I'd like to explain the difference between a static stretch and a dynamic stretch. So a static stretch is something that we hold our muscle in a stretch for 10 to 30 seconds. Like say we want to stretch our hamstring muscles and we choose to do a hip hinge. So when we do the hip hinge and hold the hinge for 10 to 30 seconds, that becomes a static stretch, which is very good for our flexibility, but this must be placed in our cool down. What we need in our warm-up is our dynamic stretching, where we should take the muscles and stretch it through the range of motion in a slow and controlled manner, continuously moving through that range. So this will help to make the muscles elastic, and this will also enable us to wake our motor neuron system up. So this can improve our reaction speeds and again help us to use a good range in our dance. We can finish off our warm-up with some dance-specific movements that we may be using in our dance, like some balance work, some Aramandi races, or some Ayata Alida movements, so that this will help us to get prepared physically as well as mentally. It also helps to use the warm-up as a chance to check in with our mood and to get into the mindset that is required for the dance activity or performance that we're going to do. One thing that we must remember is that any strengthening or flexibility workouts that we do must be placed separately outside of class, and our warm-up must be simple prep for our mind as well as our body. So to summarize, the first point is to not assume that when we're feeling hot, our body is automatically warmed up, because a good warm-up will last for 5 to 10 minutes and it will include some cardio, mobility, followed by dynamic stretching with some dance specific movements, and it helps to sit down and plan a good individually practical and systematic warm-up. So dance research over the years has indicated that up to 80% of South Asian dancers suffer from at least one dance injury. And one of the major reasons cited by the researchers is a lack of physical fitness. So the most basic and prerequisite component of physical fitness is stamina or aerobic energy. This is the ability of a dancer to use oxygen to perform continuous movements for a prolonged period of time without feeling much fatigue. So how can dancers build stamina? So a lot of athletes use cross-training methods like jogging, running, swimming, and interval training workouts like the HIIT or HIIT workouts, which is a great option for dancers as well to work on their aerobic energy. But in most cases, dancers would prefer to use dance sequences itself to work on their stamina. We can build our own dance sequence with a few movements that repeat itself continuously in a rhythmic manner for a period of at least 4 minutes. Once we're able to do this comfortably, we can add on another 4 minutes where we add in some hand gestures, and then we can continue to add on some jumps, and likewise to build up a routine that will last up to 20 or 30 minutes, and it will be a continuously dancing routine that stresses on stamina. So while choosing such simple repetitive movements, we'll have a lot of mind space to focus on our breathing and to check on our energy levels. Here is an example of a sequence that can be used for building stamina. Contrastingly, if we use a sequence of adavus that keeps changing one after the other, a lot of our mind space will go off in remembering the steps, in following the Kala Pramanam, and in executing it with good technique. So while such a sequence may also build our stamina, it might primarily focus on skill acquisition. So while working on our stamina, it helps to choose a simple sequence with repetitive movements for a period of 4 minutes. We can build this up for a 20 to 30 minute routine and practice it 2 to 3 times a week. And when we perform this, we can even check if we've made any improvements. We can do this by taking our heart rate, either from our carotid pulse or our radial artery. We can note it down as beats per minute, and the next time we perform the same routine, we can again take down our heart rate to see if there are any changes. If our heart rate has dropped, it means we've gotten more fitter to perform the same routine. Another way is to download the RPE scale, which can be got off Google. It is a subjective scale that asks us how we feel. So once we mark a particular level, the next time we do it, we can mark another level and see if there have been any changes. So this way, we can build our stamina for dance before we approach a choreography, so that during class and rehearsals, when we're actually performing the choreography, we'll be able to enjoy the flow, we'll be able to think about the aesthetics, and we'll be able to focus on all the other aspects of choreography without worrying about our stamina. This is the third video in this series, and in this video we will be talking about our joint angles and execution for a safe Aramandi. So this is important because each and every one of our bodies is different. What might be natural for one person might not be natural for the next person. So when we load our joints in an unnatural manner by forceful compression, what will happen is we will get misaligned and it will cause a pain in another joint because our joints are a linked system. A misalignment or a misplacement of one joint might lead to instability in another joint. So it helps to execute an Aramandi in as natural and as safe manner as possible. And if we would like to improve our angles or improve our Aramandi depth, it is always advisable to visit a physiotherapist or a personal trainer who can help us understand our tightness or our joint angles and mobility and suggest exercises that can individually benefit us for our own practice. So I am going to be demonstrating and showing various cues at the different joints for a safe and natural Aramandi. First, when we start with the Samapadam, it helps to have soft knees without locking them too tight and preventing forces to pass through. Once we have soft knees, we can squeeze our glute muscles or our butt muscles, use our deep internal hip rotators and turn out our feet in one go. Wherever we reach is our natural turnout. Screwing and twisting forcefully is not advised, as this can again lead to knee pain by twisting the calf muscle in an unnatural angle. So once we've reached our natural turnout, our feet needs to be fully flat on the ground without internal, external rotation or scrunching of our toes. It should also be noted that we should go deep into an Aramandi only so long as our feet are flat. Once our heels start raising, that means we don't have enough mobility and we'll have to build it outside of class to be able to reach that depth. When we lower down our knees, it is important to have our knees over our toes in line with it. So once our knees are in line with our toes, it safeguards not only our kneecap but also prevents torsion of our calf muscle. Once we are here, we need to focus on hip alignment. So our pelvis tends to tilt in two different ways. It can be understood by using the example of a bowl of water. So if this bowl of water spills forward or anteriorly, we get an anterior pelvic tilt with a high curvature here, which leads to lower back pain in the long run. And another tilt is the posterior pelvic tilt, where the water spills back, where we develop a rounded upper back, which is again dangerous for our posture. So what is advisable is to ensure that this bowl of water does not spill water anywhere, meaning our pelvic muscle, our pelvic bones and our muscles are neutral and comfortable. So once we are in a neutral pelvic alignment, it will again help us reach a nice and low comfortable Aramandi. Our core, which is this central portion, including our chest, our upper back, lower back, abdomens and the sides of our torso, is the strongest section of our body. It is from here that movements need to originate. And for this, to engage the core, we can use simple cues like tucking in our tummy, but without drawing it in and holding our breath. We just need to do a gentle tuck. Imagine ourselves to be tall, like our head is touching the roof, straight, butt squeezed, pelvis neutral, and we can open our chest by retracting and depressing our shoulders, pulling it back and pulling it down. This helps to get a neutral position in the shoulder. For our neck, we can imagine our chin parallel to the floor, our ears in line with our shoulders. So all of these cues might be a little too much to remember in the first time you try it out, but as you try executing it, it will help you reach a comfortable and a safe Aramandi with a lot of scope for improvement with the required flexibility and activation exercises. So these are safe joint cues for a safe Aramandi. If you have any questions or discussions on this topic, please do feel free to contact me. Thank you and namaskar.